This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so today is Wednesday, January 30th. We have 2 trading days left in the month of January. Now, as always, everything that we're going to be talking about this morning is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. All right, so let's take a look. First of all, the number one thing that we can see out there is certainly Apple, or most certainly the number one thing being talked about out there. So their earnings apparently it was like, nothing too crazy, nothing too special, but I guess there was something out there that they liked or whatever it was. I think it's based off of what I saw, it's a bit drastic. Natasha, I know you were having a problem yesterday too. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, perfect. All right, so coming into this morning, we can see there's still definitely buying that's coming into it. 161.25, beautiful burst that came in. All right, coming into the 162 level and then 162.50 as well. So we're definitely still getting new buying here. What that does, it's funny because they have a line there from 161, and this has got to be from, I want to say, like 2 classes ago or something like that. So it's just interesting that it came up down to 161 and kind of held right there. But overall, it's like I said, it's still definitely getting new buying coming back in. Most of what we're seeing this downside move right this second is because it's pulling back from those buy prints that we keep seeing coming into it. All right. So overall, certainly after we get, a little bit more of a pullback, and you got to expect profit taking coming into it as well. I'm definitely going to be looking for a trigger for it to break over that 162.50. Next thing I have on my list is CODX. Now this morning, it's still moving. But I was hoping that we'd go ahead and get to it before it broke over that 3 level. So one thing that we do want to look at is we didn't really get as much buying at that 3 as we would have liked to. Now 280 definitely got a nice burst that came in. Overall, you can see the orders are not that thin, so we certainly should be seeing a lot more of those bigger orders as we're up here towards that 3 level. Based off of that, if we don't get more new buying here, this thing is just going to sell off once the market opens. Okay, you can see right here, this is just not enough by any means for such a cheap stock for this thing to really be able to continue going on. So that's what we're going to be looking for here, is just that new buying. And obviously, if we just continue to see this selling, we're going to end up basically not focusing on it at all. So does not have the buying we need yet. That's what we're going to need to see. And then obviously most of you aren't going to be able to short it because of the fact that it's just it's way too cheap of a stock. And other than that, I'm not really happy with too many other things out there. Now, I know you guys were talking about Boeing a little bit earlier. Now, Boeing trades a huge range on average. You can see $10.89. It's just very, very, very expensive. I know personally I'm not going to be trading this. There'll be better things for me to personally to be looking at out there. But if you're looking at options, I mean, definitely keep an eye on it. It trades a whole lot. And one of the things that it's almost an easier read because of the fact that it's so expensive and it doesn't really give as many bigger prints out there. When you do get a burst of real big prints, it's basically giving you the entire story of what it's going to be looking to do. Like I said, I'm not personally going to be trading it, but certainly something to be looking at. Let's take a look at SQ. So SQ has some buying that was at that 71 level from yesterday. We know we got hit 69, got hit twice on the ask side. Right before the market closed. So you can see right here, and you can see the second time right here. So we're basically popping up from that. We expected some sort of a pull up coming back in, but overall we are still expecting the down movement. Okay, that the selling that we have at 68.50, we have a lot of selling sitting there at 68.50, and it hit that a whole bunch of times as well. So these pull ups both coincide with the ask prints at that 69 as well as the sell prints at the 68. All right, so overall, just because it's popping up does not mean that this thing is over by any means. There's still a lot of selling that's sitting in there. Let's take a look at our scanners. Let's see if anything else new has popped up. Didn't Bob have earnings this morning? Because when I was looking at it, I wasn't too excited. I mean, if they had earnings, I mean, I thought it was pre-market today. I might be wrong, but it really didn't do anything, which is a little bit especially for Bob, is a little bit odd. Usually they did. So it's a little odd for how much, really not much movement. So it's another thing that we might want to keep an eye on. But when I looked at it this morning, it wasn't anything that was special. China trade talks resumes today, and the Fed talk at 2:30. Maybe a low volume day. Yeah, well, the Fed talks at 2. Okay, keep in mind, just as a rule of thumb, whenever you're talking about a Fed meeting, it's almost always Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so let's take a look. Let's go through our scanner. But like I said, I don't see anything here that really popped out. Popped out to me. EYEN, 632,000 shares, absolutely nothing there. EKSO, it made a nice move, but just there's nothing there that really gets me excited. You can see there's just way too much selling as it was coming back up, not enough buying, really nothing there for me. FRSX of 275,000 shares, but absolute garbage trading. CANF, same type of deal. I mean, just absolute garbage. AMD on the same boat as SQ. Now, I don't know. AMD, I'm not even going to go over because I'm not watching AMD. AMD, if I'm going to trade at one of those two stocks, it's almost always, unless, because most of the time they move basically in sequence. In sync, excuse me, in sync. So if I'm going to trade one of them, it's never AMD. It's always NVDA. So I don't really have any idea what's going on in AMD, and I really don't care. Now, if we look over at NVDA, we've been getting nothing but selling. So we're popping up right now, but that doesn't really matter. It's almost everything in the market, every market stock, every name brand stock, if you look at, basically kind of followed Apple yesterday. When Apple made those moves, we could see almost all of them are coming back up, but that does not change anything. If we come over here and we look at this morning, you can see basically the only thing that we've had come into this morning is a huge burst of selling at 134.68. So what that tells us is we're going to be expecting it to pull up a little bit more. 135 being a big psychological level is going to be the main spot I'm going to be looking for, especially knowing how much selling we had at 134 and 135. Going to be looking for it to pop up over a little bit, but not be able to hold, trigger down, and to satisfy these selling prints that came in on here. Yeah, AMD, I don't like it. AMD, it doesn't have enough range. It's $1.36. It trades like crap way too often, so there's just no reason for me to be looking at it. Okay, if I'm going to trade a stock that, especially the same type of stock, NVDA, and look at the range. Okay, it trades $8.94. So with especially someone like myself that's trading shares, it just makes way more sense to trade this one. Now, that doesn't mean not to trade AMD. It's a lot more controllable. There's definitely other reasons and positives to trade. It's just not for me. All right. Just because one person loves a stock doesn't mean that everyone has to love it. We find things that kind of fit our personalities. What about that selling in Apple? We just wait longer. I feel this move is BS. See, the selling that you're talking about, we've had good selling that came in at certain points, but I told you guys yesterday when you asked me about the earnings at Apple, I haven't seen anything like what we saw in Facebook or anything. It's been normal. There's not any, I haven't seen anything. I mean, you're talking about, so since pretty much New Year's. So let's see, after New Year's, I took a week off and we had classes, which I still was able to watch it a little bit, but I personally just I didn't see anything that really showed. So like Facebook today, Facebook we're going to be watching, obviously, because they have what's it called? Earnings that are coming after the market. And we know there's a huge amount. So we certainly want to watch this one all day and kind of see what's going to be going on there. But overall, like I said, I mean, it's just got a ton of selling. But if you look, every stock out there did almost every name brand stock did the same exact thing overnight, which means they're not moving on their own. It's just they were following something, and that's Apple. Following Apple earnings. Apple making that much of a move, it was almost sympathy trades throughout the rest of the name brands. I have an opinion on Microsoft. No, I don't really watch Microsoft pretty much ever. It's got a good range though. It trades a little bit consolidated. I always get caught up in other things. I don't really watch Microsoft too often. I know most people think it's very low priced right now. X has earnings as well. Interesting after what we've seen at 2140. Absolutely. I'm going to keep X up. X hasn't really been a great day trade. Oh, actually, the other day it wasn't too bad. But certainly going to be watching this one as well based off of that. Let's just take a look at the losers real quick. Not really too much here either. A lot of everyday stocks. And thank you for reminding me about the Fed meeting today at 2 p.m. Most of the time, the market's going to die real early, and we're just going to see things kind of float around until that 2 o'clock meeting. All right, guys. Anything else out there that I missed? I think that is about it. All right, beautiful. So remember, Traders Exchange, TE at atc.trade. Let's make sure we get our questions and topics in for 12:30 this afternoon. I'll talk to everyone in the chat, and happy trading.